Question is simple. So were the Kings good? So honest to God question. There's three options. Yes, no, kinda. So right now we just posted this during the commercial break. 73% say yes. Nobody says no.
Mm-hmm.
And 28% say, kinda. It's that 28% that I'm hung up on. But you were the one who kind of started this conversation.
Yeah,
so I
man,
because
and look, Jilly, not from Philly. It's my girl. I can have conversations with Jill, and we may not see eye to eye. That's my girl. There's no shade. And shout out Trevor. He's cool with me too. Like, I'm cool with all these people. But I was having discussions last night where I was just like, this is kind of why I just don't really hop on Twitter and go back and forth sometimes, because we just go round and round in circles sometimes. And it got me to the point where it was like, yo, are they a perfect team? Absolutely not. Do they have holes and flaws? Absolutely. Are they a good team? Yes. They're 7 games over 500.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they are a good team. Like, yes, they're a good team. And I don't know, and I don't think, like I said, even Jill and Trevor, I'm not even saying they weren't saying they were a good team. Their thing was kind of like, yo, we need to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, you're a good team. You don't need to do anything to maintain where you're at. If you want to get into like championship contender level, yeah, you got to do something. And I don't think a little Mason Plumlee or Chris Boucher that's not a championship move. That's just a move to make a move. But I sat back a couple of times.
So I don't think that's a move to make a move. I think that's a move to get better.
The Chris Boucher move you're right. Better. You're right. And Mason Plumlee too. You're getting better with that, but it's not astronomically better.
Right. I got you.
And my thing was, yo, like, this team is good. The roster that they have is good. The players they have on this roster are good. They've been playing good, and they haven't shown me anything in 47 games to make me think they're going to fall off a cliff and not play good anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're good. They don't need to make a move. Monty should definitely be on the phones. You know what I mean? Saying, hey, talking to teams. What are you looking at? What, can you do this? Be on the phone, work the phone, see what you got to do. I talked about before. Look at that free agent wire. Play the buyout market. You're always looking to improve. Absolutely. But if they didn't make any moves, I think they still would be a top 6 team with the possibility to host, to have home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs with this particular squad. Last night shook people. Last night seemed like it shook people last night.
I didn't get as much of a pulse after the game as you did. So what I'm about to say has nothing to do with last night's game. I think it has to do with the overall tenor of the conversation this season. And it's probably pessimism, antsiness, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Absolutely.
In that, like, you'll acknowledge their record and you'll be excited about their record, but you preface it with everything. It's like the conversation we had last week. And sure, like, a lot of the stuff we put on YouTube and the way we title it is because we want people to see it. Mm-hmm. And the idea is you actually listen to it and just don't read the caption on it. Mm-hmm. The caption: the Kings can go to the NBA Finals. What are these two jackasses talking about? When you hear it, it's like, sure, if they hit their shots and play that sporadic defense that they do regularly, mm-hmm. Yeah, sure, they could beat anybody. We've said this all year. This team is capable of beating everyone. They're capable of beating anyone. Mm-hmm. Can they do it in a 7-game series? Bro, I don't know. I wouldn't pick the Sacramento Kings to beat any team in the Eastern Conference in a 7-game series. I have a hard time seeing them beat Memphis in a series. Truthfully, I have a hard time seeing them beat Golden State in a series. But the team is good, and I don't have to preface that with anything. Is this team really the third best team in the Western Conference? Yes, they are.
They literally are.
They absolutely are. Does it matter how they got there? No, it doesn't matter that the games that they lose, they don't play good enough defense. It doesn't matter that they get roughed up by long teams like Toronto. Jill was mentioning in the chat, they had the same issues with Orlando. Yeah, they did, but they beat Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were absolutely roughed up by Orlando's length, but they beat Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't beat Toronto last night.
Last night.
Night.
Beat them before.
Right. They're capable of beating anyone. I don't feel like Kings fans, Kings media, national media, I don't feel like you have to preface it with anything.
Mm.
Oh, is this really a third place team in the Western Conference? Absolutely it is. And they've shown that. I don't care that Devin Booker is hurt and DeAndre Ayton isn't performing and Chris Paul isn't around and there's some sort of dysfunction within that group. I don't care that Anthony Davis is out and LeBron James is carrying the load at 38. That's not my problem.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Ingram out, back in. Zion Williamson out, back in. Not my issue. Not the Kings' issue. Not Monty McNair's issue. Not Mike Brown's issue. This team has played well enough to be, I think still, because they both lost within 3.5 games of the 2 seed.
Mm-hmm.
The end. There's no, yeah, but. There's no, well, if they just do that. No, none of that. This team is good enough to compete, and they have, and they've won at a greater clip than we've seen in this market in not even 17, 18 years at this point.
Yeah. And that's with everybody. You know, a lot of people, you know, want the Mason Plumlees of the world. Like, we need to get better.
I love Mason Plumlee.
We need. He's a good ball. He's having a hell of a season. I just
don't think that changes the fortunes of anything.
I don't think so either, in a drastic way, right? Like I think your team improved. So one of the things people were saying, if we had Mason Plumlee, you know, that might add 1 or 2 more wins. It might, but how do we know that when Metu was cooking, if you would have had Mason Plumlee, you wouldn't have lost those games because the way Metu was playing. The way Metu playing was conducive to how the Kings were playing and helped them get a win. If you had Mason Plumlee there, maybe he couldn't hit free throws or he couldn't stretch the floor and you wouldn't. Like, how do we know? Like, I look at this group and I think they've earned, and I'm not saying anybody is saying they don't, but they've earned the benefit of the doubt right now to be trusted, to be given some leeway to, hey, show us that you need help. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't, and that's over the course of games. Last night, I didn't look at that and be like, damn, they need help. I was like, no, they just got backhanded. Toronto came to play. The Kings were off on their game, and that's what happened. I never watched that game and thought they needed help. I never watched the game on Saturday and thought they needed help. I never watched the Lakers game and thought they needed help. Like, I haven't watched the game yet and said, yo, these guys just not it. They're not it. They need help. They need help. I'm not there.
It's just funny to me, the things that we're talking about. This depth is super important for the run of the season and getting into the playoffs. If you have in what we're talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, is an upgrade over Rashawn and Chimezie.
That's ultimately
what
it really comes to. I've heard people talking about, yeah, we need more wing depth. Okay, you get more wing. Who's not playing? That's the other thing about this. We love this team so much, especially when you talk about wing depth. Who's not playing? You sitting Keegan? You taking minutes away from Harrison after he's averaging 22 a night over the last 15 games or so? Davion not playing? Monk not playing?
No.
You cutting back Fox's minutes? Like, what? Herter's minutes? Who's not playing?
And those are things that don't happen in the playoffs.
Right.
If that's truly, if we're talking about getting to the playoffs, like, I get that. Yeah, absolutely. I get that. Because ultimately what you don't want to do, and again, I think you made your point there. The answer to my question was yes. We're talking about an upgrade for Rashawn
Yes.
and Chemezi Metu. That's what we're talking about. And the reason you want that is you don't want Domas playing 40 minutes a night going into the playoffs, which is something you feel like you have to do here at this point to truly have your best chance at winning. Sometimes that's spot on accurate. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes the Kings can get away with not having that 40 minutes from Domas and De'Aaron, but most specifically Domas. But once you get to the playoffs, Sabonis is going to play 40+ minutes a night.
Yeah. And look,
in game 1, 2, 3, 4, like he's going to play every night.
And I'll even say this, the time, and Kyle Draper kind of brought it up too, the time that you don't want Domas playing 40 minutes or De'Aaron playing 38 to 40 minutes, the time is almost up. Because once you get into after the All-Star break, that's when it's like, all right, I'm riding my guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the time for them not to play 40, we've already passed. You wouldn't want them playing 40 in December and in January like they have been. Like I get all that. But you go out and I just keep bringing Mason Plumlee because he's the name that comes up, but it's not really him. It's just I'll start saying Nerlens Noel or whatever, right? Like you go get him. Like it's about to be time at the end of February going into March in the stretch run for Domas to be playing those 40 minutes a night. Like for a team like the Kings, they're not Boston where you're solidified, you're good. The Kings are going to be trying to close this thing down. And to do that, you're going to have Sabonis and Fox and Harrison and those guys playing major minutes. So you bring in a guy like that, that's a good addition, but who knows how much time he's going to be getting out there anyway.
I think one of the other funny things about the Kings right now and them being at third and some of the remarks about, how good they truly are, who's better? Like if you want to make our argument for New Orleans, I'd absolutely listen to that. Absolutely. If you wanted to make an argument for Los Angeles, the Clippers, I'd listen to that in about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
In about 2 weeks, I'd listen to that.
And that's where it stops.
It ends right there because you can't convince me the Dallas Mavericks are better than the Sacramento Kings. We'll see what winds up happening with Phoenix. We felt funny about that team all year. Tough for me to believe that physically they're just going to, okay, we're all healthy again. Let's go. Tough for me to believe mentally whatever was bugging them earlier ain't bugging them no more.
Right.
And that all of a sudden with 28, 30 games left in the season, when I assume when Book comes back, oh, they're just good. They're off. They're Western Conference, caliber again, championship caliber again. It's just hard for me to believe.
I don't see it. And that's where.
And that run from Minnesota isn't coming. I don't give a damn what happens this weekend. That run from them is not coming.
I don't see it either. But
beginning to think I was wrong about that.
This is what I tell Jason and I tell everybody. The line that everybody likes to use. Everything is so close. You're a bad week from going from 3rd to 8th. No, you're not. That's not happening.
People like to look at how close the numbers are.
Yeah, it's not happening because those other teams, they're there for a reason. Nobody's playing good enough. And you're not going to 3rd to 8th. You would need like all 5 teams to get hot. And that's not happening. You may get 1 or 2, but in a 10-day span, you're not getting 5 teams in this Western Conference this year getting hot.
Oklahoma City lost last night. Memphis, they're obviously above Sacramento. They lost last night. Portland needed 60 from Dame Lillard to beat Utah. In the same breath, Utah lost last night. I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say during the week, some of these teams are going to play each other.
There's that.
Portland and Utah aren't both moving up at the same time.
There's that. And when you also talk about,
by the way, with that said, I'm going to need Sacramento to go ahead and beat Minnesota this weekend.
I need at least one. I need at least one.
We got to knock that noise down a little bit.
I need at least one.
Because you do have some teams down there that are starting to put together wins. And Phoenix being one of them.
Phoenix for sure. Minnesota is at 500 now, I think.
They are. That's the one team on this row. New Orleans is the team over 500. Everyone else is 500 or lower.
And you've got the 2 worst teams in the conference for 3 games. You know what I mean? And you got Indiana.
And then you got Indiana who still hasn't won.
And Tyree's still not back.
No. He's due, though. He's due soon.
I thought
That's what he said.
Yeah, I thought he had played, but I guess he still hasn't played yet.
Oh, they did win a game. Excuse me. They've won 1 game while he's been out.
But the
Brutal.
other thing about the Kings is, once again, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They've shown me enough in 47 games to give them the benefit of the doubt. Where they're like, man, you play teams like Toronto and and New Orleans and Minnesota. Like, all right, I understand that, but they have shown me this year, for the majority of the year, if there's a team that the Kings should beat, they usually take care of business. It's not all the time. Obviously, you got your Charlottes and Washingtons and those games. Whatever you think about last night, whatever. Sometimes, but what happened when I said, "Yo, you lost this game, whatever. I need you to go 3-0 against Orlando and Houston." Damn it, they went 3-0 and they really weren't even close. They handled business. They went into San Antonio and handled business. Until I see them not consistently not handling business against those type of teams, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, look, you guys, I trust you guys to take care of business.
And that's the thing. They got a bunch of those teams coming up.
Yeah.
You just mentioned the two worst teams in the conference are coming up on this trip.
Come on, man. Get these guys some leeway. I know it's tough. I know. I sit there and I see them not play a good game, and I'm like, oh no, what's going on? But then I gather myself like, come on, Kenny.
I'd be far more worried if they played like they did last night against Minnesota. That would give me more concern than, because I told you how I felt about Toronto. We don't have to keep rehashing that. But like Minnesota's, they're searching. And you could argue, and sometimes this is really dangerous. At some point, they're going to get desperate. Like we did all this, like they're going to go into this All-Star game with no representation. After all of that noise they made this offseason, they're going to go into this All-Star game with no representation.
Well, look, Belo and JC in Minnesota is probably looking at this thing and saying, "You got an opportunity. You got 2 games against the Kings." And while I think people respect and enjoy what the Kings have done this year around the league, I still don't think I know they don't look at them like they're playing Boston. It's like, I mean, it's still the Kings. Let's see. They probably say, let's take them into deep waters and see what they can do. You know what I mean? So they're looking at this situation as an opportunity to kind of get themselves into the race and into that top 6 situation. So that's how they're going to be looking at it.
See, Dame Lillard, that 60 he dropped last night was the most efficient 60-point game.
It felt like he didn't miss nothing. He was on
every
fire.
Once in a while. It's good to have those reminders.
Y'all must have forgot.
Yeah, because Portland's, kind of whatever. Like I don't know what to classify Portland as, but it's always good to get Dame is a bad boy.
He's tough.
Yeah, Dame is a bad.
I remember when we started the show. One of the conversations we had, I think that was the year.
The original epiphany?
No,
we need Dame Lillard.
It was before the epiphany.
Kenny's big hot take. I've been thinking about this. We need Dame Lillard.
But it was Dame going off in the bubble. And I remember I was like, he doesn't have, remember I would say he doesn't have the accolades of a Steph Curry. But game-wise, he can get at Steph. And it's still like people, Warrior fans and basketball fans may still look at like, nah, you're crazy. I still believe that. Like he's got.
I don't agree, but you're not crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone better than Steph in that regard. I honestly don't think anyone can touch him.
And that's understandable. I'm not even saying that's the hill I would die on. I'm just saying I think we can have that discussion.
Dame is the closest, maybe?
Yeah. Dame or, well, I was going to say Dame or Kyrie.
Oh. Well. Is your Brooklyn jersey arrive in the mail yet? I don't know.
Did it come with your hoodie?
Yeah,